what better way to celebrate this movie? So we are now live. Hello, if anyone decides to watch us today, we are going to... The game today's lovely game in the background is the Deadpool video game from a very long time ago.
Very long time ago. In fact, so old I believe it's delisted from most sites now. You had to have bought it or it's gone.
Yep, I bought this game a long time ago. Because I'm going to be incredibly lazy, I'm going to put this on Genetically Superior. Just because well, the game is meant to be a background thing, it's not the major thing, so I'm putting it in the easiest difficulty. But today's lovely episode, we are probably going to spend most of this episode talking about a certain film. You probably guessed from the title of today's stream.
Well, I mean, if you're watching the intro, you might have just seen a photograph of what we're about to talk about, to be honest.
Exactly.
Which was quite ironic and good timing. But yeah, no, we have both seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, I know. Well, we're watching the intro to this game as...
Well, yes, this is a very funny intro. There are very few intros to video games that I absolutely adore. This is one of them. Very well done, very well voiced.
Yeah, Nolan North is amazing. This is why I can't hear Nolan North as anything other than Deadpool, because that is the character. This is the game that I most remember him from.
I've got to say, I'm a big Deadpool fan. Always have been. Deadpool and Gambit are my twos. I was odd as a child, and I've played this game a little bit, but nowhere near my favourite game with Deadpool in. Funny enough, so
You sent over the script.
I mean, they did him perfectly, though, to be honest.
This is bullshit. A script? Like some dingus know better than me.
But yeah.
But,
Another game intro to look up, though, just as good as this and fantastic animation. A PlayStation 1 era game called The Jersey Devil, and it is a fully old school animated intro. And you get a nice little cartoon as your story intro. It is fantastic.
Ooh, Spider-Man. But does
Man
Spider-Man
have a sweet ass supercharged healing factor? No.
But Jackass gets lucky and tags me
I love the
with
fact
a
that
Eating factors
because it's
are
called
a very
Spider-Man
important part of the story.
Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, which is one of my favourite all-time Spider-Man games. Like, I love it because it was my first introduction to, for example, my first introduction to Spider-Man Noir was that game. You know, with the four different Spider-Man, we had Miguel, we had normal Peter Parker, we had Ultimate Peter Parker, and then we had Spider-Man Noir. And it was like, it was such a good game, and I like that they even invented certain villains for the characters, so that you had in it, you had the
quality time watching TV with me, myself, and myself. Yeah, thanks for spending time with
it was,
us.
you know, where they introduced certain villains that those comics didn't even actually have, as well,
Yeah.
just to give you like versions of them, and they clearly use influence from certain other ones. Like we got a Green Goblin in the future, because there isn't one in the future. There's only a Hobgoblin.
It's well used.
We got a Hobgoblin, I believe, in the future. We got also Spider-Man had the symbiote suit for it. And Noir's whole playstyle was basically like super stealthy, it was super stealth playstyle, and I enjoyed it. But it was on the Ultimate Spider-Man. They added Deadpool into his because Deadpool was one of his villains.
I can happily say that I've had every... One sec. There's two or three I haven't had. But, at least in the consoles from the Xbox, from the PlayStation 1 up till PlayStation... until Xbox...
You can tell how old this game is, though.
Yeah, Xbox Series X era. I've had pretty much every Marvel game, barring the Spider-Man one. Now, That also means I had the two incredibly rare and no longer able to buy because they were all destroyed games. X-Men Discovery or Destiny, I think it was. This is a battle game. And I can't remember what the other one. Both of them, due to licensing issues and many things, they had to be literally destroyed. And both those games I didn't know that this was a thing, and went, these are boring, and handed them over to a second-hand game store for credit. What's even funnier is the X-Men Destiny one, the fighting one, I had on the GameCube as well as the PlayStation, and both of those went over, and they're both very, 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 very collectible now.
I love the fact that you can sit on the phone even though Nolan North has hung up on himself. It's the fact that you ring Nolan North going, I need you to voice me in the game.
It just makes sense.
You just get Nolan North to voice you in the game, and it's like, nope, we're talking to Nolan North. Oh yeah, that's show and tell.
Now where did I put my
New Mutants?
So,
issue 98?
I do believe that is giving people a lot of...
Well, this was clearly made by a junior artist.
Oh, fuck you, no. Sorry, no swearing.
Let's see what's
Door
number one.
This ain't
Yeah,
a
we
kid
don't.
friendly show. Oh no.
It's not. But we saw... so, I mean, that's enough time now, I think, to give people the gist of what we're talking about. You're going to get spoilers. Time to leave. Come back later once you've seen it. But we've seen Wolverine and Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
And it is freaking hilarious. I mean, at this moment in time...
The opening scene is still my favourite. It's why the song Bye 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 has been stuck in my head for rent-free for the last few days.
Yes, I mean, it's almost the full song. It might as well be their new music video and just re-release the whole dang thing. As is, and make another couple of $1 billion. It will happen. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is Kate Bush and Stranger Things time. Re-release the track, make loads of money.
Oh yeah.
With a new Deadpool-inspired video.
Oh yeah, it's so brilliant though. The opening scene of just. I suppose you're all wondering how we're gonna make sure that not shit all over the endings, the beautiful ending to Logan. Well, we're not. We are. We're gonna shit all over it.
So, just a weird quick connection to Deadpool and that song, by the way. It was pointed out a very early use of the superhero landing, as called out by Deadpool in first Deadpool, was used in that exact NSYNC video with Justin Timberlake coming down a tube to a superhero landing.
I know.
So yeah, I mean, before that you do have Blade doing it, but yeah, it's an early use of the that gets called out later on. So that's very, very cool.
Time to fire that prop artist.
Yeah, so we have what? Look, so I was literally bent over laughing at the very early point in this when you see Deadpool digging up Wolverine's body after the events of Logan, because like so many people on Reddit and Twitter, they were like, that's not how healing factors work in Wolverine. He can't die like that. And Deadpool was explaining that nerd view of why Wolverine can't die like that. And then he just hits metal.
Yeah.
This game.
Much more.
What's quite interesting at this point, because you do get something here that actually gives this film its rating straight out the bat, without a single bloody image happening, because under American rules you get an R rating or 2 F-bombs in a film. If you use one and it's not related to a sexual act, and you say fuck and it's not related to the sexual act of having sex, you're allowed to get away with that in a 15 movie. In fact, they do so in the second Naked Gun film. they get an F-bomb right out the gate, 30 seconds into the film. But in this film, it's their second by this point. So under American law, under American restrictions, that is already now an R-rated film.
Oh yeah.
Without a single person dying, except for Wolverine.
Oh no! But it's just the minute you hear the clang.
Healing factor won't let me get drunk anyway.
It's the clang.
It's just like no.
And the raise of the head, the looking up, looking down, and going,
motherfucker.
That's right.
I was in. Now, to describe my situation, I've told you this already. I was sitting between a very young couple and a very old couple, and the person on the next to me out of those couples, on each side, was the person that quite obviously was not the comic book fan. So, those people were stuck in between people. Well, on my left, the young couple, the poor young lady was stuck between two people laughing maniacally, and then the older dude was stuck next to an older lady that was just chuckling away. And it was just quite funny to see how lost those two were in that situation. But yeah, they did not know why a clang was funny at that moment in time. But then the conversation with the skeleton.
Oh yeah, that's the conversation with skeleton Wolverine.
Bet you thought there'd be some kind of payoff with the empty cupboards.
Nope. Just and then all the TVA agents showing up. You've committed crimes against. I love how as well we got the whole thing of going back to the whole the first film. Here's a hit. So I'm going to go back and tell you how I got to this situation. Again.
Actually, it follows quite a few beats. The first one being in the first film, just before we get the flashback, he starts off by counting how many people he's got and how many bullets he has to use. And you get that countdown. Well, in this, he's like, well, I'm not going to use my weapons, but there are 360 bones in the human body. Plus one if you're watching Gossip Girls, which is what Blake Lively's in apparently, which is very funny. But yes, you then see him beat the shit out of every single wave of TVA agents that come through by desecrating the corpse of Wolverine and using bones as weapons.
Oh yeah. It's just like, I'm going to kill all of you without using a single one of my weapons.
I think the spinal column and skull mace
is hilarious. The first thing he does is just beat someone. He just starts throwing bones around, breaking rib cage, parts of his rib cage off.
It's his rib cages off, using them as throwing daggers, fingers as knives, the bigger rib cages as swords. It was brutal, for want of a better word, and possibly then leading to one of the funniest, or two funny moments. Was one saying that Wolverine was the best Canadian.
Oh yes, it culminates in one of the only thing good to come out of Canada. He just throws the sword
and does a full Will Smith. Get my country's name out of your goddamn mouth, and my sword. And then of course he's down to just the bare essentials, and by that I mean Wolverine's claws and knuckles.
Yep.
And he straps those to his hands, and some fun. Seeing Deadpool as Wolverine, cosplaying as Wolverine, basically was very, very hilarious.
Oh,
yeah. That's when we get the second callback to the first film, which is the let me tell you how this all started. And this is like, well, I mean, it's actually in all the films. It's by this point, it's actually their trope. Yeah, we find out that after the events of Deadpool 2, Deadpool had travelled multiverse. He saved everyone he needed to save.
Yeah, Yep, and then we got the very first scene being hilariously being him talking to freaking Happy Hogan.
Well, yeah. So it explains that he decided that he had he decided he wanted that he needed to do something more with his life, and in the comic books that is, you know, one of the things he wants to become a proper hero, and you know he wants to use his abilities for good. So they actually give us a very important date in the Marvel timeline here. So this isn't modern day, this isn't happening right now, this is many years ago, and it's 2 weeks before the snap. And the reason these things are important is because we know that the Avengers are in chaos at this point because of the events of Civil War. We know that most of the Avengers that are around have actually moved from that building. They're not at Stark Tower anymore. They're somewhere out there at the compound. And even then, that compound would be empty because of everything that has happened in the event so far. So they are in a different place. They're in a particularly weird place when it comes to them. So when Deadpool turns up, they've already seen extra super people around. They don't know who the hell this guy is because he's actually in the 616 universe, not his universe. So they only really know him for what he's telling them right now, and Happy's having none of it. And it is quite obvious, by the way, if you actually look around that office, that they're not in Happy's office. They're actually in his office. They're in Stark's office.
Oh no.
Because of the bits that are around, which is quite funny. But you do get a couple of funny jokes, which are pure Deadpool jokes.
Oh yeah.
Very much in the Marvel universe.
Also make fun of the film.
Oh, definitely. But no, I mean, possibly my favourite one is, I'm very sorry that you caught me masturbating, which is where you punch your genitals with Hulk hands.
God damn it.
I think I need to make an entrance.
Yeah, so that takes him. That he's basically told that he's not really needed, particularly wanted at this moment in time, and maybe he should find something to do. And he seems to have fallen into some sort of slump within himself. Now, this is something I don't know if you agree with me. I think he's very badly told in the story. This, because of his failure to join the Avengers or even the X-Men. So in his reality, there isn't an Avengers, but there is an X-Men, and we know he failed there because he killed someone in the second film, and he weren't going to be getting back in, even though he's still friends with everyone. And now it's the Avengers. He's kind of got into a slump that's caused a problem within his own relationship because he's become depressed and stagnant in what he's doing. That's not really explained. It's just like, oh well, in one flashback it's like, oh, they've had an argument and now they just split up, which don't really make any sense. Even at the end when they fix it all and they're sort of back together.
Why it happened slightly when Cassandra starts messing with his mind later in the film.
Yeah, but you guys, once again, that's
says, but that's actually, but that's what I think was happening. That he was stuck in a spot and wouldn't move on.
And that's it's so very much blink and you miss it, an explanation as to why that's actually happening. It's kind of weird. I mean, it kind of made more sense. A lot of what a lot of people are saying is you find out that Vanessa couldn't cope with what had happened after her death, really, and had been brought back. That she just didn't want to be part of that lifestyle anymore. That would have just made sense, but it just seemed to be I just lost interest in life, so they just wandered apart. Yeah, once again, I get that. True, I just would have liked that a bit more. I like. Sometimes I do like to just be treated stupid and given the full explanation and exposition. Not always. I know. But yeah, this then leads into the bits in the trailer, and basically so much of the trailer is the first part of that film that if you like the trailers, you pretty much are going to like the film. and you've been told nothing up until this point that you haven't already pretty much seen in the trailers. But yeah, the PVA turn up at his door to
Oh yeah, to get him.
thank you.
I love the fact that the line from the trailer is actually the line he says in the film. No, it's not one of those ones where they pay him.
So yeah, it is very much the pegging line. It is actually done a little bit longer, and the whole thing is a bit better.
But it's like Kevin said, Mr. Feige said in an interview, Deadpool had to make fun of Disney and make fun of me because that's what he would do. Straight up what he would do. You can't have a Deadpool
also,
who doesn't make fun of the company that owns it.
Very much. He's very much a meta character. He has to, and it's kind of. I mean, that's kind of why She-Hulk was allowed to do what She-Hulk was allowed to do. And as much as people didn't like it, I did, because it is kind of something. Oh, right, she would never go that far. I mean, she has done, but on a normal basis, never so much. And the same with Deadpool. There's been special occasions where they've gone that far, but it's always the rarity. But for me, I loved it. Yeah, there were bits in that weren't best, but yeah, breaking the fourth wall like that is exactly kind of what you have to do. And picking the people at the top is what those characters are about when you break the fourth wall the way they do.
Oh yeah.
They're meant to kick up, not down.
This is what I think.
And the other side of it is, one thing I was actually going to say to you before we even started this, is kind of a thing that was people have talked about as being something that was mentioned from the outset, apparently by Kevin Feige to everyone that was at Comic-Con, and that was the shows that they were doing that were age restricted, and you were meant to be 18 to be there, was we need to get people to realise we're not kids. This isn't for kids, some of the stuff that we're doing and we will be doing, so we're going to be swearing a lot, and everyone apparently had to have at least one fuck on stage. So if you actually now re-watch everything and hear a lot of what you're hearing, you're going to hear a lot of fuck. But there's also a fantastic interview with Kevin Feige explaining how he had to have a conversation with Bob Iger about what pegging is, which I think is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
All we need someone to do is to do. We need a show that a film or something that completely blows everything out of the water for Marvel, with a bunch of gay characters, and then someone can explain the LGBTQ plus community to Bob Iger, and I think we can fix some shit.
I know. Because Bob Iger.
Wait a minute. I have to prefix this due to a comment I made a few days ago on YouTube. That was sarcasm.
I know. Also, Jax. You know what's even funnier? The controversy, the funny things about this surrounding this film that have made me laugh recently. Is people claiming this is the most conservative Marvel movie. I'm like, fuck no, is it?
I think they don't understand what conservative means.
Because this movie is.
I think they're thinking of conservatory.
The amount of times that Deadpool was referencing to another dude wanting to basically fuck him. Like that guy right there. You say he's fucking me. Like, but flouting the fact that comic-wise Wade Wilson is bisexual. That's the whole point of Wade Wilson. That's not the whole point, but it's like it's one of his actual parts of his character.
But yeah, I mean, I do understand why people say that, and like I said, I'm not disagreeing with this. The only thing I will say is, I don't think giving a character like Deadpool a designated sexuality is kind of apt, because I just think he's kind of a bit like Constantine in the same way. I think it's any port in a storm when you're a bit bored. It's that they don't care if you're male, female, mixing between, or a fucking demon. if there's a warm spot, fun. I wouldn't be surprised if Wade Wilson was down next to. Oh, actually, I think I've read a comic where he's in bed with a whole group of demons. So there we go. Yeah, I mean that stuff. Let people whinge about all that sort of shit. Because
they were saying it's supposed to be the film like, yeah, the woke mobs it should be put in their place by this conservative, this so conservative. I'm like, did we watch the same movie? Or
I don't think we.
I don't think
these people
got mad because the film is an affront to Jesus apparently because the whole
Marvel
I am Marvel Jesus joke. And I'm sorry, but that is the perfect joke, and it is the kind of joke that Wade would make. Like, from reading a load of the years of reading the comics, it is the joke Deadpool would make.
Yes, and I'm also not going to, in this case, point out every single time they've done a film where Superman does the crucifixion over Earth and looks down like the saviour. Because if I did that, it might point out some hypocrisy. I mean, yeah, it's just stupid. Deadpool is Deadpool. If you're gonna go, it's kind of like South Park. If you've got anything you're offended about, you're probably gonna find something offensive. Yeah, may as well just enjoy the ride.
It's like this game. This game is all about comedy.
We're talking about the wokeness. I guess there is a weird. I thought was a great woke joke, which is a bit later on when Cassandra first.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Cassandra first comes out on the chair, then as she gets to the ramp on the chair, she stands up and the stairs come out. He's like, well, that's going to upset the Abraham crowd.
I know. I was like, yes.
I was bored
anyway. And
we get many Charles.
Yeah. We'll get to that because there's a load of stuff in between that's so much better before we even get to that scene. I just thought that was perfectly funny. How many complaints are going to get for a wheelchair user walking down the stairs? I don't know. But yeah, maybe people will be upset that they didn't actually get a proper Mumajai to play Cassandra, and they just picked an actual human woman actress because they didn't want to bother. But no, I think they did very well.
I think the actress that they got to play her was perfect for playing Cassandra Nova, and I will fully admit I absolutely love that we got Cassandra Nova as a villain in a film. Like, she's one of those characters
and done so creepily well.
Yeah, and done with using her powers the exact way she does use her powers to get into people's minds. I was like, yes, this is you've done this character justice because it's straight up. She is a creepy fucking villain, and it's. By the way, a lot of people point out the way that they've got her dressed and everything in that film. Right?
Yeah.
Go put it next to a picture of James McAvoy when he's fully bald in the end of the thing.
Yeah.
They look so similar.
Yeah, I mean, so I've seen those comparisons already. They were around a while. The one that really kind of got me in the way that they sort of did that character though is that they kind of, one of the things I have heard a complaint about is how they don't understand how she became the villain twice in a part of the story where they sort of almost made their deal with her and then all of a sudden she comes back. So one, Sandra Nova, right? At one point she goes, actually no, you're right, I've been bad, I should be good. And then the next issue it's like, well actually no, I decided fuck that, I was right the first time. And now I'm just killing.
It's also, what is it? There's the storyline during the Krakoan era where she shows up in the Krakoan era because she is technically a mutant because she is a mutant Hamadra, which is the thing.
Hamadra.
Yeah, but she is because she is technically mutant from inheriting it from Charles. She lives on like that little black spot in Krakoa where no one goes basically, and she ends up having to help them out. To help out that team, they need her because she's the only one who can help them with recovering. I think it's a bunch of mutants from the CR basically.
So no, I mean, there is no. I don't see an issue with that side of it. As a complaint to her character, I think they did very well.
Oh no,
The way, like I say, the way that
the
they
people
code.
complain that she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna be good. I've been bad." Then she like becomes a villain twice, like in the film. Like, I'm such like she straight up says, "I'm gonna kill you," repeatedly in that bit when they have the helmet on her.
I always thought we'd make a great
Yeah,
She
but
even
like,
threatens to kill them if we take this out. And the only she don't even
Yeah, but they-
helps them is because of Paradox.
yes, that's it. And like, so they've made their deal. But then, of course, the events what happen after that, she sort of comes back again as the bad guy, and that's what people complain about. Well, they made it. Well, yeah, but then if you actually watch the fucking film, she gets a little bit more information, and then she does exactly what her character does in the comic books, and goes, "Oh, that little bit of information made I could do other things with it, but no, I'm going to go to World War III again because that's the character."
That's what she is. She is a little bit. She's unhinged.
Just a bit.
And
Um,
so a lot of people who may have never known the character and doesn't know and not read the comics like you and me have. What is the one Marvel Comics event that she is responsible for?
Oh yeah, one of the biggest ones that she ends up being connected to is the genocide event, which we've just seen in X-Men '97.
Yeah, we discussed it earlier this year.
Didn't know.
Earlier in '97 this year. And
Yeah.
she is the reason in the comics for. That's why when that happened, I was fully expecting not to get back. I was expecting her to show up and we'd get Cassandra Nova in that show. But then getting her in the film in Deadpool Wolverine was a very nice thing for me. As like she's not a villain I know as much about because I've not read all of the comics. I kind of started a collection on the Ultimate Limited Comics things just to go through all the storylines that she shows up in.
Yeah, I mean there is only a small collection of really important issues if it's on or stories that's really important. To be honest,
Well, it's
you
not
can
major,
cover.
it's like you can sort out like a collection by character. So I sort out a collection
Yeah.
where she has features in like the series.
Yeah.
Those comics. Even if it's just like a reference, even if it's just like a callback to stuff she's done, it's like just because it was like, yeah, I want to do this because I kind of like the idea of.
Oh yeah. Why Well, I mean, yeah, I can't disagree with you.
They did her really well in that film.
Yes.
They got her characterization perfectly.
Back at the beginning,
Oh
Deadpool's become a car salesman.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a car salesman with a toupee. No one can tell it. It's a hair system. No one can tell. They can tell.
Yes.
Also, I love the fact that Megatron is still in that film. Finally got that.
Yes, yeah, 100%. We find out that Pete has been saving Deadpool's costume in hopes that he will become Deadpool again, or Wade will become Deadpool again, and Wade is completely against the idea. He just wants a normal life, to be stable and happy. And these are the things. So all those scenes we've seen in the locker room, it's not Deadpool hiding his costume there, it is Pete hiding it there and keeping it for him from whenever he needs it. And then yeah, he gets captured by the TVA, and we're now in front of Paradox.
Before that, we get the nice scene of the party where we get Shatterstar back.
Oh, sorry, I thought we'd all. Do you know what? I thought we'd jumped past that already because we talked about the pegging scene. So I'm waiting. I thought we'd already skipped it. Yeah. But yeah, no, yes, we get the people back that he cared about. I assume Brad Pitt is around there somewhere, just invisible.
Yeah. I really don't remember the jokes everyone kept making about the screenshot of that scene.
Why are you letting this terrible thing happen to me?
No, I don't
Being
actually.
told
To be
off
honest.
by the game, by the way, for letting Wade get hit by a grenade. He's telling you, why are you letting this terrible thing happen to me right now? Look, wait. You're invincible. You can't die.
Partially, but yeah, no. Yes, we have that we have the party scene, and he gets. This is where we get a little bit of exposition on what happened with him and Vanessa, but very little. It's just that they're not together, and they're being very nice to each other. And
see, I wonder if the reason I wonder if see if they're going to reappear. I wonder if they're going to bring in a certain storyline and a certain character in. If they bring in if they bring him back for the the Doomsday or Secret Wars film, where I reckon they'll show back up. I wonder if we're gonna get Ellie show up.
It's very possible, but weirdly enough, I kind of still think that the joke was meant to be that she was dating Kevin Feige, and he was going to appear in it as the cameo instead of, because, like I said, there was that weird set photo, and then I think it was MT again on YouTube that was sort of said, well, the way that they're talking, him and Blind Owl are talking in hushed tones, it's almost like they don't want someone in the room to hear. Maybe Kevin is in the room, and I really wanted that to be the case. I really did. It would have been hilarious.
Oh yeah, it would have been funny as hell. But it's just the sheer hilarity of the fact that of a lot of people expecting it, like yourself was, Kevin Feige to be the one that she's dating.
He has to get his whole life back from Kevin Feige.
And the other thing is, I think why their universe can't merge with the MCU's one, she already has a character in the MCU, remember?
Technically, yes. So here's quite a funny thing. So Disney have always had this big thing that once you're a character in the Marvel universe, you can't be anyone else. This is why Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther never carried on after Chadwick Boseman's death, and so many other things. And then all of a sudden, they're changing these rules because we've had multiple Thaddeus Rosses after the actor that played Thaddeus Ross originally died. Now we've got him as Harrison Ford.
I also
Doctor
love
Doom.
Joke in that, by the way, to them changing the actor.
Yes. But once again, I mean that's slightly different in the fact that these actors have never played Marvel roles before, and dual roles, but these are change-ups. And this is and it's kind of a weird thing I don't understand with the Chadwick Boseman one, because that would have been a change-up, not a Chadwick Boseman becoming a different character. But this is something that now has to happen. People are complaining that Robert Downey Jr. is going to be playing a second Marvel character, and one of the things they're going at is this rule that Marvel had. But in buying Fox, a lot of the actors that they want to use for other projects or have already been Marvel characters now. So, they're kind of saying, get used to understanding that Johnny Storm in one is the same as a Johnny Storm in another, is the same as a Johnny Storm in another. Maybe a different universe, but these characters are all the same characters.
It's like they've established that in one universe, John Krasinski is, Reed Richards. But in the one that's going to be coming in the MCU is played by Pedro. The idea that
Pedro
not everyone is just, and they also did with Wonder Vision, with Boimler, and I think that's why Boimler was him. They were trying to first testing the waters of it, I think.
Yes, very much so.
I did love him for the brief little bit that he was in that episode, him being yes.
Well, this is one of the things I think is completely understandable, because we had this sort of a conversation about this the other night before D&D, and this is one of the things why I completely think that Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. can be Tony Stark in one universe and Victor Von Doom in another universe. Without it being a thing like he's like being the same, because that's the best way to explain this. Without there actually being a general connection, like so they're not saying like say he came from Tony Stark and he's the Stark family line. This is a completely different family line, in the same way as in a great example is Chris Evans in one universe. The person he's Captain America, he looks like Captain America. In another universe, different family, different genetics. The guy that looks like that on that Earth is Johnny Storm, but the Johnny Storm on the Captain America universe isn't going to look like Captain America. He's going to look like someone else. Let's say Michael B. Jordan. That's how it goes. I will use that movie because I would, as much as I don't like it, and there's reasons not to like it, there is so many reasons why that film is bad, not necessarily down to any of the actors, although the acting was shoddy.
I fully agree with you, though, that if they bring back anyone from that universe, from that set of films, bring back the guy that played Reed and do him and have him become the Maker.
We've discussed it. I think one of the things we're going to see in the multiverse is multiple Reeds, and for many reasons. And in the Ultimate Comics, which were a darker line, a more true to actual life line, their version of Reed Richards became the villain, the Master. Very, very good. He ends up being he's one of the big villains in the mainline stories now when they merged everything. He came over with Miles Morales.
Yep. He also during the Secret Wars that led up to that, him, Thanos, and a bunch of other villains from his Earth and the 616 universe survived on a ship.
Yes. Yeah. Like I say, he was one of the few characters that did get ported over to the actual universe like Miles Morales did. So many of the Ultimate stuff just faded. Those characters.
I quite like. It's the one universe where Peter Parker is happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, yes. So anyway, that film from back then, the Fantastic film, was based on the Ultimate line. That's why it is so dark and so gritty, amongst other reasons that were necessity to actually just get that film out on the deadline. So it makes sense that actor becomes the villain version of that character because they were already going down that path in that film. And I think that would be great to actually see in part of these Doomsday things. Doomsday storylines and this Secret War stuff is actually a Fantastic Four film that went down the dark path. And maybe a team of Fantastic Four that's actually led by the Master with a full set of Fantastic Four characters. Maker, that's it. Yeah, Maker. Why do I think the Master? I thought you had a Doctor Who connection. I thought he had. I know. I thought he had. Weirdly, I thought he had a Doctor Who connection. I thought the name was it. But yeah, the Maker. Sorry. It's even more sense. And yeah, very good. Just, I think he's going to be a villain. I think the thing we're going to see at the end is actually going to be Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom fighting against Reece Griffin's. I hope that's his name.
Doom was in that movie, and it's sad because the Doom in that movie did not get to. It was there for 5 minutes.
The Doom in that movie was awful. It was oh no. He's just an anarchic kid.
That movie, unfortunately, was in production hell.
We've had this. You know, I love the story of this film because due to the way Marvel sold off, I'll get finished really fast. Due to the way Marvel sold off and so many of its TV and film rights for a lot of its shows, there was actually a time limit on how long you could take between films to keep the license valid after a certain amount of time. So this is why you got basically sequels and reboots of films once a particular franchise was dying by the same characters, because they needed to do that to keep the license. Fantastic Four was one of these licenses. Now, they thought they had quite a bit of time because they had just recently, in terms of film rights, they had made Fantastic Four Silver Surfer before they decided to reboot because there was stuff going on. And the film that they were going to make was the new stupidly cool, stupidly high graphic version of the Ultimate Universe of Fantastic Four. And when they started production, they thought the time they had was to make the film in a few months, or just under a year. They then actually had someone from the legal team read what that actually said and found out, no, the time limit they had was for when the film had to be in a cinema, which meant edited, After Effects, everything. They were running out of time, and soon the property was going back to Marvel. They had to release this film rapidly. But we all got one fan to make people get ready to buy tickets. We got this fantastic trailer you must remember it or look back at it. It's when the Thing literally tears through a bunch of tanks by using another tank as a battle axe. It looks freaking awesome, and then you watch the film and the scene where that's meant to happen, you see the Thing turn into the Thing, break through a wall, and then you find Mr. Fantastic and the rest find the Thing really pissed off in a battleground, and you're thinking, well, that looks like that's where that scene should have been. I'll keep watching. And you watch the rest of the film and go, it's the scene from the trailer. Well, to get the film out on time, they had to cut back on a lot of the special effects that they were doing. And what you saw in the trailer of that fight was the only bit of that entire scene that had been done in special effects. The rest had not even been touched yet, allegedly. So they decided to cut the entire battle and just say, we'll tell you about it later.
Yeah, it was also like, the characters basically did nothing for the entire movie.
No, because so, like I say, so little was filmed that like they had to. From every report I've heard, every conversation I've heard, and from one or two things outside of that, this film had absolutely no time to film anything. Basically, they had the time was so short that in some cases it was just that was done, and it was just, and they, like I say, they didn't have any time to do any of those big fight scenes and those big CGI scenes that they would want them to do, like testing out their powers in some form or fashion really coolly, because they had run out of time to do that. Yeah, it ended up being one of the biggest death nails they could have ever done. At that point, Fox was at its end with those films, with all the. But yeah, once again, we'll go back. So we get to the TVA, and we finally find out who Paradox is, why he's doing what he's doing, and why the TVA is involved.
Paradox is basically part of the, to put it in perspective, is part of the old guard of the TVA.
Well, he has those, yes, he has those leanings, so it's kind of explained what their job is now, since Loki, season 2. So, and they explain why things are happening the way they are. So, yes, now they don't go around pruning these timelines, these new threads. They actually just watch over them. Any that become incredibly violent or unstable, they do still get rid of using a temporal ripper. But they, for the most part, they let them do what they do. They then explain a new concept to us within the film realm, not so much a new concept to comic book readers, and these are anchor characters.
Yep.
Each universe doesn't necessarily have to have, but can have an anchor character that, upon their death on that universe, their impact to that universe is so important that once they die, the universe begins to decay and destroy itself, and this can take thousands and thousands of years. So if in our case for the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, if he is an anchor character, him dying in the Avengers films, Endgame, wouldn't necessarily mean that straight away the universe dies, but at that point at least it has stopped expanding, and at some point it's now going to start slowly breaking down in on itself unless they get another anchor. And in this case, this is what has happened. Wolverine from the Fox universe, from Logan, has died. His act, and so the way it's explained is that, and it's kind of obvious, the X-Men films were the driving force for the Fox franchise, with Wolverine completely being their core. They built everything around the fact that Hugh Jackman and Wolverine was the superstars of it all, and his death was the death of that anchor character for the Fox universe, and it is now dying. And what they've told Wade this, and they've said that we want to keep you to TVA, you as Deadpool have a purpose in the MCU. Not going to tell you what, but the top guys want to keep you. But the rest of your universe is already dying. It may have 1,000 years, it may have but my job and the job of people like me now is to just watch these universes as they die, wait for them to die, send a report, and then pull anything of interest out. You are of interest. But other than that, we don't care about your universe. In fact, what we want you to do, because it will be really useful, is to take one of our temporal rippers and just get rid of it now. Because if you can get rid of it now, all the better for everyone. And as you can imagine, this is not what Wade wants to hear. In fact, he's now convinced himself that actually all his universe needs to be saved is a new Wolverine. Just get me a live Wolverine. Oh, and in this case, or save the one that was meant to be dead. In this moment, though, you do. Before all this, though, we do get one or two cameos on the screen to show Deadpool his future.
playing in the background.
The entirety of the MCU playing in the background, plus clips from his future. Now, I've seen this clip a few times now after seeing everything, and there is a nice little debate going on whether or not it's an edited version of the Thor Loki scene or whether or not it's new footage. Where Thor is crying over Deadpool.
You see what I love
and
to turned into, by the way.
I have. It looks like old school Spider-Man slash what was it called? Zelda slash GTO. Bloody hell, GTO. You forget that was a top down. You love this game. Yeah. So yeah, people are convinced that we're going to see something now. Well, I say people are convinced by a lot of things. There's so many things, but are we going to get a scene with Hemsworth, Thor, and Deadpool in one of the future films? And what has Deadpool done to be given a heroic cradle like that? Anyway, Wade steals the temp pad from Paradox and goes on his first attempt to go get his original Wolverine in the timeline that they're in, or in his future timeline. Now, people have, one of the things people have complained about is why wouldn't, if he's part of the Fox universe, why wouldn't he have got the Wolverine from his time? And I would say, well, he would have gone to the one in the future that was, because he's already said these are the this is the pinnacle one, so he's gone back to try and get the pinnacle one, as we've said at the very beginning. That's obviously failed, but after that, he can't really go back and get that one. He goes.
So all the do can't. Unfortunately, a lot of people are so realistic is that guy dies at that point, meaning that his universe doesn't matter anymore, basically.
Yeah, they need one to replace the one after his death. Yeah. And if you bring the one, even if you follow a different set of time rules to the ones that have already kind of been set out and are kind of followed to an extent here, you can't, if you brought the one from there to the future to take over, he won't be there to die in the future, which means he'd change the whole thing anyway and wouldn't be the anchor point. Which kind of, so yeah, and they wouldn't be in, anyway, long story short, they go universe jumping to get a decent Wolverine.
We get the first universe he jumps into is, in my opinion, one of the funniest ones, and also the fact so finally, after all these years.
This made me laugh. Comic book, accurate.
Fucking Logan. Finally
Logan.
Like, actually short. Because, no offense, when I love the man and he plays Wolverine first, like, really well, but he is too damn tall.
I mean, it was just so funny, and
it's just the fact that he gets off the
still,
school and it's just even Wade starts, and it's fun that Wade starts making, Deadpool starts making the jokes he makes in the comics when he's talking to Logan. The same
when he's talking to old school Logan, they've made him a little bit taller in the modern comics.
Yeah, when he's talking to, that's what a lot of people claim. But Logan's 5'3" now in the comics. It's like, yeah, they're not doing Logan now. They're doing Logan when he first came out. The joke there was meant to be that's old Logan when he really was like a 4 foot something tall person.
Although at one point in the comic books he did go, I think it's in, I can't remember what era it was, he does go up to just under 6 foot for a period if he went in one of the encyclopedias, and people were pissed because it puts it in, he's always a short fella, he's always in the 5'5" range.
He's meant to be short because he's the short king of the Marvel universe. Nobody fucks with Wolverine.
Oh, he's the honey badger.
The fact that they kept calling him honey badger occasionally, and it's just like, no, stop referencing, even though I know that's what he calls him. It's fact that's also a reference to one of his clones, to one of the eventual clones of Wolverine.
Yeah, but also I don't know how much you know. I think we've discussed this, but don't believe this ever made it past the concept stage, because there is a bit of a difference between original Wolverine, then known Wolverine, then Wolverine over the years, because it is kind of 3 stages. But at least in the production stage, Wolverine wasn't that character's name; it was the Badger. And that is true. That was, at one point, it wasn't going to be Wolverine, it was the Badger. And someone turned around and went, Wolverine sounds better and Wolverines are Badgers.
What the fuck's a Wolverine?
Like, yep.
Still my favourite joke. Every time someone ever says it. What the fuck is a Wolverine?
Just an aggressive Badger.
Yeah. That's actually the wording. That is the joke. His name meant to be Badger originally. We changed it. But what to? Badger. But aggressive.
Yeah, but yes. Yeah. So I mean, so seriously, that was one of the names for him at one stage. If you would like to read other weird characters, there was a British comic book that did start off as a kind of a British tongue-in-cheek piss take of Spider-Man called Leopard Man, and it's about a kid who got scratched by a radioactive leopard, and gains the powers of a leopard. Well worth a read. Very much in the vein of Banana Man, but funny. The story does get a bit more intricate after the years, but not by much.
Oh well, that's good. We can't all have them.
Weirdly enough,
comics, though, can we?
you can't, but I'll tell you what it did do. Tell me if you know this story. Storyline in this, and this is the comic book that did it first. One day, after many years of being Leopard Man, and remember that this was a Spider-Man ripoff, by the way. Many years of being Leopard Man, Leopard Man starts being hunted by this strange character that seems to have similar powers to him, only to find out that his parents were also leopard people, and he comes from a long destined line of leopard people that just need something to happen to them to give them their leopard abilities. And this guy comes from a cult of people, interdimensional people, that feed off the life force of leopard people. And all of a sudden you have him having to gather people from leopard people history to fight off a group of vampires that basically suck their essence.
Hey look, it's the Spider-Verse saga.
Just a little bit of the Spider-Verse saga.
I do love the Spider-Verse saga, by the way.
I
All the
do
different
too, but it's so
versions of
funny.
Spider-Man though that we got in that. Including the one where Uncle Ben becomes Spider-Man, and I actually genuinely enjoy Uncle Ben being Spider-Man. As well as
I don't remember that.
Yeah, but it was Uncle Ben got the powers in one universe, and in that universe, Uncle Ben, basically everyone died.
Oh, I mean, if it's Uncle Ben that got the powers, I suppose everyone would have had to die at that point.
No, it's because he's the one got bit. Peter got killed in the robbery, while Ben went to go and do the thing.
Ah.
But
Oh, I didn't know that.
basically thought his powers weren't good enough, so he hid himself away. Didn't realise when he hid himself away, some villain got over and nuke and basically turned the world into a wasteland.
Oh, have you ever read Spider-Man Reign? First one.
Is that the one where? Yeah, I don't think I've read Rain yet.
It's a standalone. The second story is they've literally just started releasing it. I'm definitely thinking I'm going to buy it. But Rain is set, pardon me, around about 40 or so years after the contemporary comics, and heroes are completely banned. Any kind of masked vigilante or villain is completely banned in New York.
We'll find Arclight, a dealer villain. Sinister Marauders.
But yeah, and they're all these heroes and villains are banned, and there is this big protection unit and hyper police system that's stopping everyone. And you're following this little old man that's just been fired from his job, being that good at it, and he sees some kids being by the police for doing a little bit of graffiti, and when he tries to intervene, he gets the shit kicked out of him, just accidentally, broken nose, broken arm, everything, and he sort of drags himself home, and he's angry, and he's talking to his wife in the corner, and he's like, "We," and she's just ignoring him, and this sort of goes on for a bit until there's a knock at the door, and there's an even older man, and he's like, You really disappointed me, son. Look at what you've let happen. I was an old newsman. I had to walk away. I made my mistakes, but you could have helped, and I brought you this. And you need to take this, and you need to do what you're meant to do, Peter. Parker, you've always been a disappointment. And it turns out this is a 90-something-year-old J. Jonah Jameson. He has come in from the hills. He's been living out in the mountains because he sold his news empire when he realised the world was going to shit and no one cared about the truth. Lies and belief was more important than truth. And they have an argument, and Jonah walks out. And I say these are two old fellas, and when Jonah walks outside, he then decides to get into a fight with the police, these Nazi-esque police. He's getting his ass handed to him. Parker, the old man upstairs, opens the box, and it's Spider-Man's mask. Jonah's kept it, and he's known Parker as Spider-Man for years. Decades. And yeah, it just this, and it leads to this great scene where Peter Parker hears Jonah having the shit kicked out of him outside as a 90-year-old man, and he goes out the door as a 60 to 70-year-old man, just wearing the mask and his underpants, and beats the shit out of the police. But he's all old and wiry, and it's about this old Spider-Man realising there is a big problem going on, and he's just let it slide for too long because of his grief. big spoilers. His grief is hardcore grief. You think you know Spider-Man's grief and pain? Well, in this universe, I don't want to. Please, if you're gonna,
I read every Spider-Man comic eventually.
Well, good. This one is harsh because I'm not going to tell you why, but it's harsh. And there's a reason he's got pain, and his villains, even in death, exploit that pain because, I mean, the Dr. Octopus protocol to if Spider-Man ever decided to show his face again, to get him back to being a hero and to do the things he needs to do, that the arms of Octavius were given a Dr. Octopus protocol to do something to basically snap Peter Parker back into being Spider-Man, or at least angry enough to be Spider-Man. That is the darkest thing in the fucking universe. The whole time you've got this old broken man being Spider. It's so good. The end is so good.
You know who should have been in this game?
Who?
Madeline Pryor.
Would they have got the rights for Madeline Pryor in this? Probably.
Do you even know who the main villain of this is?
It's Mephisto, isn't it?
Nope, it's Sinister.
Sinister.
It's Sinister and the Marauders. It's like, God damn it, Sinister.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the game, if I remember correctly, does make the joke of, shouldn't you be bothering Summers? Instead of bothering it. Ah, crap, I fell down.
Yeah, the So yes, so yeah, we get short Wolverine. We then get we get two fake outs or wait outs for want of a better term, because we get backs of two Wolverines in a row, I believe.
Yeah, we get the back of
one
in a clearly white suit at a table.
A clearly white suit at a table, and I still think that, and I'm going to try and work this out tomorrow when I see it again. I still believe the person we saw in the trailer in that white suit is more slimline than the person I saw in the cinema. I think that scene has been changed. I think there's a bit of special features for the DVD version coming out on that one.
But I reckon the DVD will probably have more. Here's the scene extended with more different Wolverines.
Yes. And I think at least one or two of the scenes in that will be extended for like a 2-3 hour cut of the film. If I'm honest, I hope. Being honest, I hope.
I've watched that film and it's just so good. Like, I've been just about entirely all week since I watched it.
There's not many films where I say there isn't enough of the film, especially after how long that film is, and there's not enough of that film.
I didn't realise how long it was, because it went by so fast.
So quick. But yeah, no, so we get those two. Then we get possibly one of the best live action versions of Wolverine we're ever going to see, because they give us Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with the missing arm, and wow, did he look good.
He did.
With the full hair.
And as we both pointed out, from that point onwards in the scene, what does Wolverine have that he's had in the comics and not in the X-Men stories?
Super strength.
Yeah, he has his damn
he is punching, and I will say actually, they have heightened his strength a lot. I would say a lot more than it is in the comic books, because he never overtly just punches people through walls on a regular basis. You know, he uses his. I mean, once he's at velocity because of his adamantium skeleton, there's not much that's going to stop him. He is a wrecking ball. But yeah, they did overpower him, but to a perfect extent, and all of them at that point.
The way it was like the perfect way to showcase that this is a violent character.
This is one of the alpha Wolverines. We've not seen anything quite like these yet.
Yeah.
Is what they're showing us, I think. And just to show the powerhouse of it all. But yeah, we then get. I might be remembering this out of order. We get Wolverine on the cross.
Yep.
Then we get Wolverine. We go back to Wolverine as Patch.
And we get to use
where-
space where...
He calls him Patch.
Oh, hey guys.
And then it cuts back to Wolverine looking over his motorbike, which was nicknamed the Cavalry.
Yep.
Because
when it turns round, it's just like, holy Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill as Wolverine, like all the fans wanted. You know, this is, and I will say, especially like we got with Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
They did the perfect fan casting, whether or not it's permanent or not. They gave the fans what they've all been wanting. But the line from Ryan Reynolds is, "Don't worry, we'll look after you. We're not like the people across the street."
No, he straight up says DC. He just actually, they do straight up make the joke at DC.
I'm going to rewatch it tomorrow. I don't think I think they actually do mention it's just the people, the guys from across the street. But I will double check tomorrow.
What the hell?
I don't think they direct. He does say "Welcome to Marvel." No, I will find out. I'm sure it's already online.
Because it's full well. I full well that it's Marvel not taking a shot at DC. It's just Marvel and DC having a general joke at each other. Oh look, Psylocke, Domino.
What do you expect?
Also,
We'd probably know.
DC towards the end was a shit show. He's got to make the reference.
You have to listen to me. Mr. Sinister has taken over Chance White's
We then cut back to Cavalry beats the shit out of Deadpool. Then we cut back to Patch stabbing Deadpool. We then cut to Old Man Logan. We cut to Old Man Logan in the Old Man Logan universe, where he's sitting on his porch with his shotgun and tabard and shoots Deadpool. And then we get. Do we get one more before we get to? Yes, we do. Well, how did I forget this one? We get Wolverine. We get Wolverine in his orange and brown.
Yep.
And as Deadpool points out, it's the same costume from when he fought the Incredible Hulk. Oh wait, there's a growl.
No, it's not just that. Is that the costume from when you first appeared in the Incredible Hulk? You just hear the growl at the end, like, oh shit. Marvel Studios will not stand for this.
And it is. And what we do know is that's not from the comic book universe. Why do we know this? Because the Hulk reflected in the blades at that point was green, not grey.
Yep. Also, I wasn't sure if I was right, but I swear that was the one, not the current one. I swear that the design of that one, they'd gone back to the design from a certain other movie. The last Hulk movie before Ruffalo took over.
I'd have to have a check. I thought it was Ruffalo's Hulk before Smart Hulk.
It might have been. I might be just misremembering that scene and thinking it's that they put the Incredible Hulk one in. You know, with.
It's very possible.
Just to have like a little send off to that as well, going, yeah, that Hulk's gone as well.
I mean, it's very possible because remember that was the first MCU Hulk film.
Yep.
Because that was the first crossover, so very possible that was the nod there.
Sure is. Impressive, right?
You can see how they could destroy this entire island. Populated with powerful mutants.
Yep.
Here comes Sinister's lackeys. Guess they saw our
Deadpool turns up at a bar and sees Wolverine sitting there alone, being told that no one wants him there. At this point, basically, once again, we're going through the trailer. Everything you've seen pretty much in the trailers for this bar scene is what you're getting. They have their tete-a-tete. Wade tries to explain who he is.
Yep.
Wolverine says he's the worst of them, and
no, it's Paradox that calls him the worst. He didn't think that's the worst Wolverine. He just doesn't. But also, he's just a drunk Wolverine. Where Wade tells him to help him, or you're gonna have another hole in your head, and he just goes, just 1 minute, grabs the bottle, and just downs the bottle, and then falls over. And then as Wade tries to lift him up, it's just, what is it? He's just, slightly pulls back the trigger and just goes, 20 fucking years! Waiting for this, it's like, yep, finally.
Now, I don't know if you're like me here, but when we do finally get his backstory through Cassandra, I still, although it's not overtly mentioned, and the story he gives is about him being away drinking when everyone came to kill the X-Men. Well, do you think like me? Are you thinking like me here that he's actually alluding to the storyline from Old Man Logan, where he comes back from drinking to be taken over, or given the illusion from Mysterio, a Spider-Man villain, to say that he's seen all these people murder his friends, the X-Men? When he gets there, the Friends of Humanity, they're murdering everyone, and he goes on a berserker rage and kills all the Friends of Humanity, only to find he's just slaughtered the X-Men. And I'm so much like, that would be the reason why he's wearing that suit in penance.
That's what I think that is.
I'm sure.
I'm just happy that we finally got Logan in his comic costume, which makes me incredibly happy because I love that costume. That is the fact
yes.
In cause it's the most.
I mean,
it's not the original, but it's the Facto Classic. It's the one that
It's the one you've seen slapped on a lunchbox.
And also, I did love it's like the X-Men '97 clap back against the Bryan Singer's universe. When when Scott gives Cable his comic costume. People go. Some people complain about that one out in some of the X-Men games. What was the point of giving him this costume when it was just other than for like a callback? And it's like that's exactly why they gave him the costume. They were making him feel. It
was funny.
It was to give him. To give him.
It's not so much, to be honest, in things like that. It's not so much about the story. It's about the viewer. It's a thank you to the viewer for being there, watching it all, and getting the in-joke.
What would you prefer?
I mean, come on. But yeah, no, I know. So I loved it. Once again, that costume was great, and it is just so funny when he does bring him back to Paradox. He's like, "I've got a Wolverine,"
and then he just starts going, "You brought me the worst Wolverine of them all."
It's not. That's not what he asked Hugh to do in the first place.
No. I love it. I love it though. And it's just like, and starts laughing and basically brought him the worst Wolverine of all of them.
Yeah.
Because this is the Wolverine.
And then we get Wade being Wade, and telling TVA agent exactly what he's going to do to him, without realising what the TVA can do.
Oh yeah, well it's like, remember, it's like in Loki. What was it in Loki? Loki not thinking, I have the Infinity Stone. I have the Infinity Stone. Yeah, those are paperweights.
And yeah, he gets zapped to the void using a stun sticks.
Yep.
And I did find it funny when Wolverine's just looking around like, what's just happened? You just killed him. No, we sent him to the void. You'll see. Zap.
Zap. Paradox as a villain, it makes perfect sense though, because he's basically the old. It's the idea that he's the last of the old guard with TJ, the ones prior to where they prove the timelines. Because he's doing what he's doing in sanctions. They're not supposed to prove the timelines anymore.
I mean, his objective, his goal as a character, is kind of lame. But it kind of doesn't matter because in comic books I've seen worse. So his actual motive here isn't he doesn't want to take over the universe. He doesn't want to do anything like that. It's just he is so bored at watching this timeline slowly die, and the fact that he's going to have to spend nearly over 1,000 years watching it slowly die and just make sure nothing major happens in the course of it dying. That he just wants to basically illegally speed the process up so he can get a promotion and leave that particular job that he doesn't like. That is his complete motive in this film.
It's also the most believable fucking motive.
Like 100%.
It's kind of like
yeah.
Because most villains have like really this elaborate motive to do all this shenanigans shit. Paradox. I'm doing this just because oh, look who it is!
Yeah, I know. So like, and it's so, and because I mean, let's put it this way. His job 5 years ago would have been to completely clear all these timelines up with a single pruning, and then go off and have a slice of pie. But now, because of Loki, they've got to look after all these things, and someone's got to spend literally an eternity doing it, and he doesn't want to be that guy this week. So yeah, that is his motive, and but at this point it doesn't matter. We've got Wolverine and Deadpool in a empty space and weapons.
He's not even paying attention to Cable anymore.
I wouldn't mind they've really gone full
Deadpool with this.
Bionics with. Well, no, I mean with Cable. I mean they really went for the far end of what happens to Cable, almost.
Well, it's that after his comic run.
Now here's the critical.
Yeah, I get it, but like, look, the full arm and half a face is completely gone.
He just shoots himself to stop it.
Oh man, did that hurt! So, we give Cable the slip.
Looks like he left a note.
What does it say?
Because he's just done with you.
Meet me at the north end of the city.
What? Who the hell is Cable to give us orders in our game?
P.S. If you don't arrive within 1
You know you can ride on that pony for that little rocket ship for ages, right?
Woman who claims to be your biggest fan.
Don't fall for
No, the one that he was on there before you press Z to end it. You can just leave it.
I love how easy Deadpool is to manipulate. So.
But yeah, so
That guy.
have the first massive Wolverine and Deadpool fight. I really liked it. Once again, people were complaining about it because you did get to see Wolverine do everything and Deadpool do everything. I was like,
oh no.
it was fight one out of a number of fights.
Yeah, the amount of times they keep going at each other in that film. Also, the best bit about that fight, Logan at the beginning, like the way he runs it in.
Yes, I was actually going to say that. Yeah.
Straight up, does the action sort of thing he does when he loses his temper, like becomes more animalistic.
He just cradles himself down and runs on all fours at the guy. I like that. I would have liked to seen a full Berserker Rage. Don't get me wrong, but there was and there is one scene in which they could have done it, which comes up later on, and they didn't. But also, what we did get at the end of that alley fight was one of the best scenes, I think. That was the best homage to the X-Men universe, in my opinion. But we'll get to that. Yes, they have their fight, and they then have to just make their way. Well, they have the fight, and then they get to.
They have their fight, then they get told by a very familiar voice to anyone who's been watching the MCU for the last 20 odd years.
Yeah.
Just tell them we don't lose if we fight each other. Just
what we get as a silhouette is at this point, really, especially from things like Dark Reign and stuff, a well-known silhouette of a clad American hunky, blue clad American hunky costume guy in a dark robe, bit of blue, bit of red showing, and when he jumps, you get a hero's landing like you've never seen. This is America's ass, people.
America's ass. And we then get the lovely bit of where the bad guy, where our Cassandra's minions show up.
Posse turn up. Yep. And we get some great here. It not necessarily played by their original actors, which a lot of people assumed we were going to get.
But
most of them
before that is when as they all start showing up. When they all start showing up, it's yeah. I've only got one thing to say to you. He's gonna say it.
Well,
he's gonna say the line. He's gonna say.
I mean, that's one. To be fair, they've already shown us the big group of people there that have come along, and that and there's a reason that they show the people there that they've got. One in particular. We said yes, the Toad and Sabretooth original actors, and more importantly, you've got Pyro there, from X-Men 1 and 2.
I actually was genuinely
yeah. So was I. I didn't know what they were. Didn't really understand why that character was being brought over. If I'm 100% honest, at the time, out of all the ones they had, and now I know. Because of the scene, but I will let you describe because you love it so. Fair enough. Well, so the rest of the villain heroes we have there while you're doing this bit, we get to see is a version of Vinnie Jones's Juggernaut. We also get a version of Azrael from the X-Men First Class. Is it? I think. See, now, I was going to say the exact opposite. I thought that guy was way too young.
Because they've gotten older, and like, a lot of them, their appearance has changed from when they first played it, when they played characters.
Oh, his to be fair, his face hasn't changed way too much, but I thought the guy that was playing him looked way too young to be the original. I'm impressed. I thought it was going to. I was told he was, along with the others. That I was like, well, that's definitely not the same actor. But yeah, we got the Russian from Punisher.
Yep. You got Yurko, which made me really happy. Yurko.
Yep.
Death Strikers there as well.
But so these were all in the vehicles, and it's it's only Wolverine, Deadpool, and America's ass covered.
And now Chris Evans, and then it's as they're all like threatening. He's like, the Chris Evans is just going, our lovely America's ass is going. It's just basically like back talking them and saying, "Come on,
yep,
we've got to fight these guys. So let's get ready." And it's just you have Wade in the background going, "Oh my God, he's gonna say it, Avengers, flame on!" It's just like, "Uh-oh, Johnny."
Flame on. And then we've got Johnny Storm.
We get the lovely callback to the original Fantastic Four.
And literally every situation you could possibly be in, having Johnny Storm on your side, you're about to win that battle. Except for in one of the rare cases, and this one being the opponent is the mutant Pyro, and completely shuts his mobility down in seconds.
And then they proceed to get captured. And then we proceed to have the way we finally get Sabretooth versus Wolverine.
100%.
That was brilliant. I hated that, to be honest. It's like you expect a lovely massive fight, and it just straight up runs past him and just puts his fucking head up.
Well, so here's the thing. People have complained about that fight, and I've had to argue back on this one for two reasons. This Wolverine that we've having, because of everything we're seeing, we have to kind of assume he's one of the Wolverines that has followed quite similarly to the comic books. And in those, and one of the places that Wolverine trained and learned how to fight was in Japan as a samurai. Now, when you watch samurai movies and shit like that, you see all these great sword fights with katana and shit. That's not how those fights often went. It was two people running past each other trying to get that kill shot in. And the one that got the kill shot in is the winner. And that's what you saw there. He didn't want to go in for a brawl, he wanted to go for a win. And he took his head clean the fuck off. And I quite like that scene because the way it was done. I could easily be wrong here, and it's a question I'd love to ask. I think that was Ryan Reynolds doing the one scene from Rashomon that he was able to get in there, because this original film was meant to be a Rashomon type story in which a certain event in the lives of these two characters is told from different perspectives. It's a Japanese film and they're samurais. It's a very good story. Definitely look it up. But yeah, so I think that was just one of the nods to it. That was a very classic Bushido / samurai fight.
Brilliant way of doing it as well. It's like there's
yes.
a combination of years of these two, and Wolverine just kills him instantly. It's like this isn't the focus of this film. The focus of this film is Wolverine and Deadpool. Not
but also
Wolverine
it's for me. It also for later on it shows a power level to Wolverines and their ability to be completely vicious and their offspring, because we see something later with one of the most powerful villains in the Marvel canon in many ways that people seem to forget how powerful they are, being taken out in a genius way that I don't think I've seen in the comic books.
No. I know who you are.
And it actually
also,
makes canon sense.
The fact that we got the terrible, as much as I love Vinnie Jones, we got the terrible version of Juggernaut back for this film.
We did, but it's funny we got that version back because it makes sense with all the other versions we got, because what we were seeing there were X-Men villains, not Deadpool villains, and it made sense to be like that in a weird way. I would like to have seen more of the X-Men. But there's a great reason why they didn't actually give us X-Men. But this scene goes badly for pretty much everyone involved that's meant to be a good guy, because after that they meet Cassandra in possibly the best way ever.
They meet Cassandra, and I think they introduce Cassandra in the best way possible.
Yes,
they do. As we've seen this massive corpse of Ant-Man.
Yes. Their compound is a massive corpse. Yeah, massive corpse of Giant Man. With his fingers interlaced as part of a door system, and within that, almost like a wall system for the compound, and then within that is helmet. And the joke is that finally Paul Rudd has aged, which I thought was hilarious.
It's the same joke that gets put around Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves hasn't aged. He's just got a beard.
Yeah. And here's the other thing someone has pointed out. I quite like the idea of, and I don't know if you've heard this, and I don't know, and I think you might like it too, that giant man, we've actually seen before. When in Ant-Man Quantumania, the giant man that reaches up originally to try and grab the thing that then gets spaghettified. But where do those things go when they get destroyed? Would it not be the Void? To be taken up by a life? Yeah. And I'm like, and when it was pointed out to me, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that would be the corpse of that giant man.
Yeah. It's also straight up ripped from the comics.
Oh yes, that was the compound in Old Man Logan, but I'm trying to think in terms of in story lore. And I thought that was just a great idea. I'd love to find out if there's a way of finding out, because people worked out that was actually Paul Rudd Iron Man, because the gaps in the teeth that were there in the skull are actually the same as his own teeth. I mean, that's some detail. Too much detail for me to want to work out. But yeah, Deadpool manages to keep the conversation away from him being killed by telling Cassandra Nova some stories about what Johnny was saying, and it seems very outlandish and unlikely that Johnny would be calling her the things he was calling.
All these horrific and horrible
the profanity was awesome, and the best part was his Wolverine standing there going, "You liar! He didn't say that.
He didn't say any of this shit. Trying to save his life." It's just like...
Yeah, and you see, without, I don't want to spoil this, but you see one of the most gruesome deaths in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You have to watch the film to find out how he dies. It's alright. When we get,
if you thought how Black Bolt died was gruesome,
yeah, this film
you've missed a bit. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, they managed to escape by the skin of their teeth.
And then we get Deadpools are a dime a dozen here.
Yeah, we get a few little hints at some of the things that have been around, because
never had a Wolverine here before, though.
Never had a Wolverine, but one of the things I did like in the way that they did escape that fight was they used a Sentinel leg from the Dinklage movie, where they were showing the prototype Sentinels, and that's how they escaped, because Wolverine would know how to get one to work, because he smashed a load of them up in the past.
Yep. But also, John, funny you say that.
We're dressed well enough to meet our number one fangirl?
Skin tight bodysuit.
This game in about probably 5 minutes. I'm going to do.
Has a Sentinel. I know you. Yeah.
Very same thing. Wait a minute. Did Ryan,
so you get that.
This game and put that in as also as a slight reference to the old Deadpool game.
Well, he did play through this game on someone's YouTube channel a few years ago, so he would know.
It's like stuff for the film itself, but the interviews for this film with Ryan talking about his kids love The Greatest Showman, and coming home watching The Greatest Showman, and the scenes being acted, the scenes are like his kids sitting there watching it, and then he realizes it's not his kids watching it; it's Hugh Jackman acting all the scenes out perfectly for them in front of the film.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you don't know how lucky you have it.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, my nieces would, I would be the best uncle in the world if I could bring that home.
It's the one thing about it is that you can tell from this film those two are genuinely just good friends. The reason this film is so good is they genuinely...
To the point, there was a joke that was in it, that was put in it by another writer, saying it would definitely be a Deadpool thing to say, and Ryan Reynolds removed it, and Hugh Jackman put it back in, because he was like, no, that would be, not only is it Deadpool thing to say, he's like, but anyway, apparently I haven't read this interview, I've seen the interview, I've only read it, but apparently the thing was like, if anyone else made this joke about me, they would get a slap in a court case. But it is he's put on some weight since the divorce, which it kind of a mean-spirited joke, but like obviously they trust each other enough to do it. But yeah, we get their escape, we get them trying to get some food in a burnt-out diner, which is, I believe it's the diner from Iron Man 2. And then they find a car. Now, this car does many things. It is also the home to one of the best fight scenes I have seen. And how they managed to do that in a car and mostly with seatbelts is choreographed perfectly.
How they get the car.
I mean,
got the best part. How they get the car, like, as they meet the most beautiful creature on God's earth.
I would like to point out the creature you're talking about did. The only reason they got that role.
I know. This is why I'm making the joke.
The only reason they got that role, I know you are, but they were voted the most ugliest dog in the world a few months previous to being filmed.
Nope, this is going in the dog. This is dog food.
We want this dog pull, and yes, no, dog pull is perfect. And then but we also get a rather disturbing figure appear after that.
We get
Nice pull.
You don't notice he looks like as good as he does when he plays
Oh yeah, no, he was. They cleaned that face up. And yeah, Nice Paul is as annoying as Nice Paul can be, and as passive aggressive.
You don't kill people. Lady Paul just gave birth and shit, and you could never tell.
Yeah, but when it's like Wade's like, can I have your golden guns? No. Now, the trainer was always going on about his golden guns, and he didn't get them in the armory. And I was like, how the fuck is he getting Nice Paul's golden guns?
The way
He's brilliant.
It's also entirely on brand for the character.
And it's actually also a callback to a very good scene in Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. So yeah, they go through that. They get their car. It's Nice Paul's car. It's a sedan. It's the one that Deadpool hates and he's slagging off at the beginning of the film. He's the car salesman. This leads. This leads.
Family in the car, they start to sell the car to him, keep swearing, and they keep asking him not to.
Well, it does. This leads to a point in the car that people are adamant that there was a Spider-Man cameo removed, in which, after being told off for messing around with the radio and going past Hugh Jackman singing Greatest Showman, he starts just whipping at the headboard of the car.
Yes. Stop that. Whip. Stop it.
Yeah. They have their arguments. Gets into a fight, like I say, one of the best choreographed fight scenes you're ever going to see, and it is.
I made an educated wish.
An educated wish. Which.
I made an educated wish.
And once again, this is actually more meta than a lot of people think, because the joke at the end of Deadpool. So, Ryan Reynolds has been very lucky. He has made jokes and sort of semi-promises for his next films without actually getting approval or rights. So that's including the original, because he did release. It's an open secret. He released that original short film to get Deadpool made. At the end of Deadpool 1, it's like, we're getting the cable. No one had greenlit that yet, and he got his.
People want to see this. You are literally mistaken if you do not make this movie.
And he did exactly the same thing at the end of Deadpool 2 in Wolverine. And they kind of, and it worked again. And so, he...
Ryan's already said he wants to do a movie with Tom Holland.
Yes.
He wants to have Spider-Man and Deadpool. Because, to be honest, if Tom Holland is the one actor, I think, that could honestly pull it off with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. Because
yes, and at the moment in time, at this moment in time, I think the only two actors, I think the only two people in Hollywood that could actually once again get Sony and Disney talking to each other on a let's make money on a good idea basis. Is those two. Ryan Reynolds has proven himself to be someone who can find a project that is going to make money and works in the zeitgeist incredibly well, not just in films but in pretty much every brand he's taken on. And Tom Holland was very much at the forefront of actually sorting out Marvel and Sony's arguments by saying, do you understand, if you work together, we make money, they buy more tickets, everyone makes the money. You're at the end of the day, if you don't make a movie, you're not making anything. And in between, the reason you're not making anything is because you're arguing over points on the dollar. Just do it. And they did, and it worked. So yeah, I think those two actually coming together and saying I want to do something would be very, very plausible to happen. But yeah.
Perfect though, because they are both like they might. I know what some people say Tobey Maguire. Like I've known the detail about it. He's the first one. To me, Tobey Maguire is only good as one part of the character. You know what I mean? Like he's only good to me as the side of the character. Yeah. Like Garfield's only good in my opinion. As much as I love Garfield's approach because he's good at the Spider-Man part, not the Peter part. Like the Peter part is the bit that he's lacked at. Because Sony wanted to make him a bit of an edgy teenager to try and relate to people, let's be honest.
Forget it, Wade.
I mean, yeah, the thing is, there's also another, a weirdly other thing for this as well, and I think that kind of helps how Tom Holland is as Spider-Man, to a weird extent. And I could be completely wrong with this, but I know for a fact his dad, who Dominic Holland, who is a fantastic comedian, or not mate, fantastic might be a harsh word, but I like him. I think he's fantastic, but you don't really see much reference, unfortunately. But he is a big comic book guy. And so he would have, his kids would have taken some of that in by osmosis a bit more than just reading it. That's
ironically, that was one of the biggest complaints around the Garfield.
He did that Queen's accent so well, in my opinion.
It's like there are so many actors that, for example, one major example of a character that I didn't know was from East London, an actor I didn't know was from East London. Hi, my name's Benedict Wong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you never heard him speak in real life?
Not until an interview. When he went.
He sounds like me.
Yeah, no, and I was so shocked by it because every time I've seen him, he's in like period dramas. He does a lot of period dramas, doesn't he? Like,
Yeah.
And he's really good at doing it. And I was like,
my weird claim to Marvel fame. When I was.
Marvel actors, by the way, are actually British. That was another thing.
You want to know how? You want to think how many people lived near me? So, Dominic, I can't remember his blinking last name now. Plays Howard Stark in the Marvel universe. He went to Thomas Tallis School, which is just around the corner. And when our two schools did a joint production of Macbeth, he was in the group with us, and he was going for Macbeth when I was going for Macduff as a rival from rival schools. So yeah, I would. Yeah, at the end of, if he had ended up staying in it, he didn't. I would have ended up killing him on stage, which would have been funny. I would have been the Bucky Barnes of reality for killing Stark's dad in an alternate reality. Yeah. So that's my claim to Marvel fame on the MCU side. But yeah, so he's from around there. Yeah, so many. South East Londoners, we get the job done, in all honesty.
Well, it's because it's the thing that I've noticed is it's probably to do with the way we write shows and other countries write shows. You know what I mean?
And then there were none.
Why would we wait when we could just finish?
Well, I mean, a lot of our guys do, especially around here, we've got a couple of really good acting schools and drama schools. So we do get quite a lot of good quality actors. And there's a lot of theatre around here, even in this part I'm in. I mean, the very famous Bob Hope, the Bob Hope Theatre is literally a 10-minute ride on the bus away. So yeah, I mean, we get good quality. We have the ability to get good quality. So yeah, that's. I think it's fantastic. More regional London accents, I think, should be shown in the world. I don't think mine gets enough representation, other than the fact everyone keeps going, "Oh, you sound Australian," or "You sound like Dick Van Dyke," and I assume they mean in Mary Poppins. What Mary Poppins? Dibbity dub, probably bip. That's not how anyone speaks.
That game was a total bust. Whatever. Keep us from that douche nozzle Sinister.
But anyway, Wolverine and Deadpool beat the shit out of each other in a car, and
the best song.
Wolverine.
The best song comes on. Get the song.
They're fighting to Greece.
The other one
Which is so funny on so many terms, especially when you consider what that song is about. I mean, it's literally about two people trying to tell the other one person trying to tell the other one, and vice versa, the things that they need in a relationship and the things that they need, they can give, and that's kind of what the fight is about. I just find it funny that once passed out, even just before he passes out, Wolverine has to tie Deadpool up just to shut him the fuck up.
Yeah. Before they're then...
And they get away in a pair of boots. Well, we find out later, yeah, but they get dragged away.
Then he found out that Pyro's working with
Paradox.
Nice try, Wheel. There are no cows
And he is feeding them information, and we find out that basically the Void has become almost like a sanctioned prison, and the of people that are left over from universities that have had to have been pruned or have died off, and it is Cassandra. Basically, Cassandra has been given full reign over basically doing what Kang was doing with her life originally, which is sending him out to clear up any remnants that are left for whatever reason. And in doing so, Cassandra and her group don't get fed don't get eaten by life, but everything else does.
Sandra doesn't try to break out.
Storm's really picking up.
Yeah, she can whenever. Yeah, well, they don't know this so much yet that she can get out whenever she wants. But one of the deals are on the table that the TVA can get people out at least, and Pyro wants out. If you've ever seen The Matrix, this is the story of Cypher in The Matrix. He's in a place that he isn't naturally meant to be, different from where he grew up, and now he wants to find a way of going back without consequence. And he's going to have to betray people to do it. So we get that backstory now. We know that there is layers of deception on the bad guy's end, and half-truths being told to everyone, and at which point Deadpool wakes up in the Hulk's bed from Ragnarok. Which I thought was quite fun.
I don't know about you, but...
We get a little bit of conversation between the two characters now, talking about the issues of an educated wish, and whether or not Wolverine is even the right person to do anything whatsoever. And that's when we get our first big cameo.
We get Deadpool and Wolverine arguing, Deadpool trying to convince Wolverine to help. Doesn't want to. We then get as Jack just said, the first big cameo of Elektra walking through the door, Jennifer Garner, back as Elektra.
Yeah.
That wasn't
Seriously, roll credits. We're done here.
Now, I will, before we get to that, everyone knew Elektra was going to be in this because basically it had been confirmed, but also a shot that had been released in one of the trailers hadn't been completely cleaned, and you saw her elbow, a scythe, and her arm. So we knew she was going to be in it. But the next list of people was kind of a conundrum. There was a lot of people in the mix here, including Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider, which is who I kind of expected. A number of the X-Men were on the list, but I completely understand why they weren't there. Ben Affleck and a handful of Punishers. Some of these get mentioned as to why they're not there, but we'll carry on. The second person that come in place, which I thought was awesome.
Anyway, the real Mr. Sinister is holed up on Magneto's old citadel on the far side.
Okay, thought he was going to carry on. Yeah, the second one to come in was Wesley Snipes' Blade.
Snipes. It's like, holy shit.
I gotta say, she got excited at that.
I was so happy seeing Blade back. It's like, this is one of my first Marvel movies.
It's a lot of people's first Marvel movies, but I also had a little tingle up my spine for a couple of reasons.
Because those two sports never worked together after a certain film.
Also, the reason that I got a little tingle is those two characters are in a team together at sometimes. And this film and this team have been on the outskirts of being made for many years. And if the third person that was rumoured walked through that door, and it was who I thought it was going to be at this point in time, which was Ghost Rider.
Oh, you're at Midnight Suns?
We would have got the Midnight Suns. And I was very...
Eventually.
Yes, well, yeah, I know. Well, like I say, eventually, this film, as we find out from the actual next person, this film was actually giving a little hint to things that haven't been available to us. And I really, and like I said, when I thought that it was still going to be Ghost Rider, I actually thought the team we were getting in this was going to be the Midnight Suns.
No, but then when a certain telekinetically charged card flies into the room.
Full of purple energy. Oh man, I was giddy. I was so giddy.
And we finally get to see Channing Tatum as the character that he was supposed to play, for years and never got a chance to. And he had done it. Ryan Reynolds gave him the option to do it exactly how he wanted to do it, which was as original and proper and as honestly as possible. The full proper Cajun accent with the proper slang. You're not going to understand shit. People complaining about Gambit. He wasn't Gambit. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. Why was he speaking like that? And it's like, and there's people that are from that area, the Creole area, actually out of it. I answered him perfectly fine. He was speaking like full Creole. He was just full on speaking Creole the whole time. That was the point.
So this is the great, and we discussed this the other day because I mean we're both Gambit fans. We kind of know this, but it's nice to geek out about it. So he's always wanted to do this. He's always wanted to do it properly, with the proper accent, with a proper dialect and full language. He gives us. They each one of them, when they come in and give their bit, they give a reason for being there. One of them, so for Elektra, it's to finish a story that never got, or to finish a story that never properly ended. For Blade, it was legacy, which is actually quite apt for what happened to all of these guys. Ambit's one,
I don't know. Maybe I was born
to but he originally tell a story that was never told. And because of what we know about that,
about his movie,
his movie, the whole production, everything we've just seen in X-Men '97, it just hit with a different power.
Oh yeah, if you're an X-Men fan,
and all
that scene does hit harder because you're like thinking because all these guys are treated like they're all gonna die, And my brain went, please don't kill Gambit. Just don't kill Gambit again.
Again.
Again, I just watched him die. I don't want to watch him die again because I just.
And a little bit later on, when they're talking about going into the battle and what they could lose, and Gambit's line is, "Some of us were never born."
Yeah.
Oh, or some of us never had a chance to live, or whatever it is. And I was like, man,
Like,
man.
Just full well acknowledging the fact that we know that this film never got made. Like I really am hoping. I know that Channing Tatum is not going to be, Remy when they do the actual Deadpool finally. But
I do hope I do hope they give us a side story though with him in this universe somehow.
Well, I think what we're going to get is, since remember, if you pay attention to the end, they all basically got saved at the end and are now in Deadpool's universe.
Well, the thing is that yes, I see what you mean, but we've already seen at the end of the Marvels that a comic book accurate, or animation accurate at least, version of the X-Men do exist somewhere out there in the multiverse. I'm assuming very heavily that all these multiverse cameos we've seen are actually universes we're going to visit in Secret Wars. So I can see.
Since Doomsday is a Doom from another universe, and I reckon the reason it's not just Doomsday because Doom is the main villain. I reckon it's Doomsday because it is quite literally the incursions of the gun. The end of the universe has started. Seeing these universes and the characters and cameos we've seen will be the ones who survive as their universe.
I've got a theory, as you know what it's going to be, but yes, you're more likely right than me. But the
we get that comic story.
Either way, I can see that universe where we've seen Monica Rambeau left behind. If we're going to see Channing Tatum again, it's going to be the Gambit with that team, which would also be the fantastic team to have a fully costumed Wolverine return.
But also, if they do that, if that is that team, if we get if I want a Rogue that's actually Rogue, can we just have comic accurate Rogue with them as well? Just because.
Yes, I think they'll go all out.
I like Anna Paquin has aged quite well, and she is a Southern person, right? She's actually Southern. I think now that she's aged and she's a little older, I think she would pull off Rogue. I do actually think that if they got her cast her again as Rogue, she could probably pull it off finally. You know what I mean? Because she's a bit older now, and would be more capable of pulling off the character. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. I kind of honestly want.
I do want to cast somebody new who's as long as she's Southern, which is meant to be. Can't have Rogue without
No, that all has to be done right. But yeah, no, that's what I think.
The fact they did
My
Gambit's costume. Some people didn't like that his costume was comic accurate and good. It looked too much silly. Why is it silly for a movie? And I'm like, no, it's perfect for a movie.
It's perfect. Have you not just the whole part of the reason this film is so good and it's already loved is because of the fact that we find that Wolverine have a comic book accurate costume, and we're finally seeing comic book accurate costumes. You give it to everyone.
Yeah, because Deadpool, when he's in the costume, the new TVA costume, it's his comic costume now.
Yeah.
They actually put him back in his actual comics version of it, not the movie-specific version, which is why it was his comic costume.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and also that's the whole point of this particular film was to highlight how much of a distance we've come from the days of people won't watch this if they're in bright colours because it's too much like a cartoon. To people have been begging for us to be more like the things that they originally love, and we're going to give it to you. And if you don't like it now, it's tough. Yeah. And they hit you with it, and I'm so happy with all of that. My theory, as you know, for the Doomsday film is we now know that Robert Downey Jr. has been paid nearly $50 million to just appear at the end of Fantastic Four. Now, this has come out since after I told you what my theory is, and I actually think it supports my theory a little bit, is that the end, it's been suggested to us by the people that are making this that the end of the Fantastic Four film will have Fantastic Four that we're seeing here in this film with Pedro Pascal leave the universe that they're from and go to another universe. They're not going to be in the one they started off in, which has been very much a big thing in all of the after-scene cameos of the recent Marvel films in this multiverse saga.
Regards to that film, have you seen the leaked costume pictures? They're wearing the classic costumes, the actual.
Yeah, and
I love it.
I assume to be fair, I assumed that's what we were getting because of the artsy picture that they sent out, and they did say all the sort of clues you need for the film is there, and it did give that arcing back to the vintage. So I was assuming we would get something close to.
I'm just happy because it's we are now in the era of comic accurate costumes, because I think Kevin's finally managed to get it through Disney's head that the comic accurate costumes will sell these films more, because you're going to get the comic wanting to see that costume on screen.
Yeah, but like I said, so now look at what the costume that, although it was just a costume to announce Downey Jr. as Doom, it was very much a simplified comic book accurate costume. And so anyway, my theory is at the end of the film, not only Reed has escaped, but also some of the smarter Reed has escaped too. But in doing so, he has realised that not only is there a multiverse out there, but there is someone out there with a power greater than he turns up to Doom, and Doom does what Doom does, and just you're actually not as powerful as me, are you? You just think you are, and that's what gets you away with a lot of stuff, isn't it? And then snuffs out Kang. We don't obviously see the face. I wouldn't assume they would use John Major's face. It'll be probably from behind. And in doing so, he somehow captures the Fantastic Four. Doomsday would start out with, because it's an Avengers, Doomsday would start out with the Avengers going after someone or some base of something that's going wrong, and when they get there, Fantastic Four are there. Pedro Pascal's Fantastic Four, they explain they've been kidnapped by Victor Von Doom, they know who he is, you're here to stop him, right? And we're like, well, not really, we don't know, because we were facing this problem called Kang. But someone has slaughtered all of them, and it's now causing a problem. And then from there you find out that Doctor Doom is going from universe to universe somehow, taking out Kangs in universes to somehow gain an extra edge of power. And that's the, like you said, that's the Doomsday element. These universes are now starting to go into either coming to these collision forms and starting off the Secret Wars events where we get these incursions, or at least he's snuffing them out at a rapid pace that is making these things happen more often.
So, as Kevin said, he loved that the person doing it used the terminology anchor being when asking about is Iron Man the anchor being of the MCU. What if the anchor being of all most of these timelines is Kang? And stuffing out so many of them in such
this would make sense this would actually make sense under the rules that they've kind of half given, because if you watch Deadpool, I mean we're now skipping to bits in Deadpool, but when they explain what an anchor point is, they do actually point out that some universes have an anchor point. It is someone that has become integral to that universe, and upon their death it ends that universe. It stops the universe from growing. It no longer is going to grow any larger, and it starts to receive itself. Time is then a factor on it, depending on whatever it is. But they've also pointed out that anchors can be replaced if someone then becomes just as integral to that universe. And it also points out that they're not needed as they're not needed on every universe, and I think that's one weird enough. I think they're going to point out a difference here between a universe that is destined to die off because their anchor is gone, hence 616. Their anchor is gone, no one's replaced it. It is always going to be destined to die, even if it survives an incursion. Then incursions are events in which we're seeing because of the crossovers of different reality things. And I think that's how they're going to ultimately say 616 is dead after any kind of reboot. We're going, well, its anchor point did die.
Well, some people were questioning, how does a Universe 5 work? Its anchor point dies of old age, and I'm like, I have a feeling that the anchor point, if it becomes a person, it survives in their blood. It's their bloodline basically becomes the anchor for the universe, as long as their bloodline survives. The universe survives.
So this is kind of something that has been brought up as an issue in the comic books, because they do have. They're not classed as anchor points, but they do have these certain character. They have a character called Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, and he, it turns out, serves a very similar role to an anchor point. This is where they got the idea from, and they've kind of suggested in a weird way that if you that these sort of characters, when they Owen Reese, for example, he's always born at a time when his natural death point would be the natural end point of that universe. If he dies before then, he will still die. So not all no universe is destined to constantly go on forever.
To be fair, we also know that the timeline-wise, there is another anchor being in the comic Marvel 616 universe, technically. Because every time that person that deserves death, by the way, dies, the timeline restarts.
Who are you referring?
I'm referring to the traitor to all mutant kind.
Oh, so yeah, well, and Nexus beings are different in I think they've already kind of explained Nexus beings are slightly different than that. They can so I wouldn't think don't think the Scarlet Witch in the MCU has done enough to be an anchor.
The actual traitor to kind, the one who hates her own people.
Okay, who? I'm confused.
I am now a robot.
Who have we? In the Marvel universe?
Comics.
In the comic. Oh, right.
In the comic universe, the other person that's also an anchor being, technically, for the timeline. Until.
Oh, right. Wait. Oh no, I mean, weirdly enough, Moira McTaggart, she is not. Yes and no. I mean, hers is more realities than universes that she bonds. She's anchored multiple weird realities to each other. The weird way to look at that is there are multiple universes within the universe. There are multiple realities within the universe, and that then goes into. It's in the comic books. It's a bit much, but yeah. You've got realms and realities, and yes, yeah. So, but if their Molecule Man dies, they're fucked. No matter what, then all of those realities that she's created have gone at all. So yeah, so they are. So that's kind of how I think they're going with it.
The Secret Wars starts in the comic. Molecule Man's death. Did
Yes.
you also notice? Is it Absorbing Man was also in the film?
I didn't notice that. I noticed Multiple Man there, but they didn't really do anything with him. They had the costume from the actual. They even had the costume from the comics in it. But yeah, no. So what's said? Yeah. So then going into the actual Secret Wars is going to be. A battle between these different realities, because all of the well, it's gonna be.
The actors that they're keeping, the actors that are going. This is where we'll get them all meeting up and they'll send off to all these other films that essentially created the Marvel, gave the way for this. This is like their final hurrah.
I think they will. Yes, they will. Yeah, no, you're right. It will be the final hurrah to everything of this universe. They're going to get as many people in doing as many characters as they can. It should be as big as Endgame was. As for who we're going to get next, I think everyone we're going to see as variants of characters. We're going to see all the characters that they will use in the future. We're going to see them. Be them Fantastic Four, X-Men, whatever. and we're going to see old versions of them that have been used, and we're going to see fan favourites of them being used.
I reckon we'll
I
get
don't think
Reed Richard back again with the
definitely.
Reed Richard. And I
Definitely. This is where.
Forced it.
Yeah.
Should. I agree with you. We should bring him back as the Maker. Give him the chance to be a villain and redeem himself a little bit.
And I would love to actually see a fight at the end, because with Kang, the only way to see that fight end and have a winner that the Avengers can actually go up against is to have it as a Kang versus Immortus fight. And with this, the only true way I think the Avengers could actually fight a God King Doom, which is what we should be getting, would be with the Maker at full power. And then once the two bad guys have kicked the shit out of each other for want of power, it's the Avengers at their peak fighting someone that's already just fought a war, and they're going to win it by the skin of their teeth, just to show how powerful this character actually is. And I think that's the way it should go.
For their new MCU universe timelines, Doom and stuff to show up as their
Yes.
universe
And
established.
Now, weirdly, I think where we differ on this, I don't think they're going to show us in those sort of scenes. I don't think we're going to see who is going to become the new future characters. I think as an extra scene at the end, when I think we're going to get two things very similar to how we got. One is how we got the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths in the Flash film, in which the end of the film, after we see the Earth dissipate, will be us seeing a new Earth, where we'll probably see a couple of characters we will know but won't be able to see who they are, flying or wishing through the air, and we will get the core three. And that will be whoever the core three characters are going to be for their Avengers team.
Certain actors will stay and will basically stay no matter what happens.
Oh, I'm sure that there is going to be a crossover.
The new Fantastic Four are one of those ones that I reckon definitely are staying. They aren't going to just do one film with.
No, they've said this is that their term ends up. There is no extra after this. For the most part, they're not the future Fantastic Four. They have said that. In terms of the MCU, that's not going to be a big surprise. What would be is that if this film isn't big, what would be a big surprise is they didn't do at some point an elsewhere story in which you see another tale from their perspective. Because I think they probably would. Like I said, I think what we're going to get is at the end as an after. So when we see the first universe come back, we're going to see it. I think we're going to see what would become the Illuminati. It's going to be Iron Man. It's going to be Captain America, and it's going to be either. I would say I would hope we would go for more like binary in the Carol Danvers storyline, rather than going straight to Captain Marvel. But it is going to be a third there to fill that out. Probably Reed Richards, if I'm honest. And they're going to be the one.
We're going to reboot it in the way of here's the first family, and we'll start this with in the order of the action. We'll start with the heroes. The Age of Marvel.
I would actually like that. The timeline I would like to see on productions would be. Literally, and I think that would just be the best name for it as well. First Family, FF, First Family, leave it.
The reason why that's what the Fantastic Four.
Well, and that's it. You get the introduction to them. But like I say, I think you're right. But the end credits, I think, will be split up then into two ways, kind of like how the Flash was done. One is you're going to see the underground side of the Marvel universe, for want of a better term. This is going to be the mutants, and I think we're going to see the Skull. I think we're going to see Asteroid M or its equivalent, and I think as actual characters we're going to see the mutants living underground and being and signs persecuting them. and I don't think we're going to be seeing an X-Man. Then and along with that, probably things like Blade and Daredevil around that area. And they'll show a few glimpses of that. And then on the other side of it, that's when they're going to show the sort of more Fantastica stuff. Like whichever the cosmic side of it's going to be, whether or not it's going to be Sword, or whether or not it's going to be Nova Corps, or whether it's going to be the Guardian of the Galaxy. They'll start showing that things, and they'll put those things into perspective. These are the parts of the universe we're going to show you. But I mean, maybe one or two people, you're not going to see anyone. And then they're going to release those. They're going to release those as the films get announced. Let the hype train run.
But also, back to the music that you're so jealously you forgot about.
Yes. Where were we? Yeah, so Gambit then comes in. We see Gambit do his thing, and then we get the final part of our cameo group.
Or a freaking kitty back. We get freaking X-23.
X-23 comes through the door, and they're and this actually gives us quite a nice little collection of information. One, there is another one of their group, but they don't know where Johnny is. That's when they realise, oops. They've met him. I'm sure he's around somewhere safe. But there were other heroes there until recently. One of them was Daredevil. The joke there was hilarious. He died. Oh, I'm sorry. It's fine. Well, no, I mean, I took it as the joke there being that she was married to Ben Affleck, who would have been the Daredevil they're talking about, and they're not married anymore. I'm sure she's...
Oh yeah, that's what the joke was for Jennifer Garner.
And the other one is, they pointed out that there has been a Punisher there.
Yep.
Which I thought was funny. With Deadpool's response is, which one?
Oh yeah.
I hope it was Dolphin.
It was definitely not John Bethany, because in the MCU. And he's also rumoured to be in Daredevil Born Again, which means we may be getting another Punisher show eventually.
Doesn't matter what variant they took.
Yeah.
It could have been the one. It could be the variant that actually did manage to kill Daredevil.
When he's not supposed to.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. But he was actually killed off early on. Didn't they say there was a handful of someone's, but I can't remember who. But they're the last of them. And they decided... Yes, they had a Magneto that was killed.
Trying to raid the Citadel.
Which I thought was quite funny, where he was like, where basically... I just thought it was funny. So he then starts having Ryan Reynolds starts having a go at about Marvel not giving him enough budget, like Fantastic Four wouldn't, like Fox wouldn't. Well, they couldn't get enough X-Men. He can't even get a Magneto.
No.
But I feel like that was it. Nothing lies. I feel like they put Pinocchio's nose up my arse and told him to lie to me. Oh. But yeah, we now get our new team of heroes to go fight Sandra at the compound.
Nice conversation with Logan and grown-up
Yes.
who is she's like, I'm not the right fella, I'm not the right dude, and she's like, you're never the right dude.
I loved that conversation. I really did, especially because that was kind of what he was saying to her throughout Logan. I kind of wish, like I say, perfect. I mean, her pick at this anything there would have been is kind of just being finicky. In my head, I kind of would have liked it if she turned around and looked at him at that moment, the way they look at each other, and she said, "You always said that," and then walk away because then it's almost like, yeah, but the guy that you don't think you can replace used to think the same before he did what he did, and I kind of think in my head it gives it a more poignant touch than it is, but still beautiful scene. And it is the scene where he starts to realise that I think at least thematically is where he starts to realise him being the outsider and forcing himself to be the outsider has always been the problem. And actually doing the opposite might be more beneficial to not just everyone else but to himself. Yeah, I kind of like it. Yeah. And what is funny as well, with all the people with the trailer breakdowns that kept pointing out there had to be at least one other person in the car, because when they showed that image of them all getting out of the car, it only showed Deadpool and Wolverine standing next to the car with all the doors open and the bonnet, and the boot. But of course, when you watch the scene, the big surprise is who comes out of the boot, and the big surprise is actually Wolverine has joined them from the outset of it all. He's just been laying in the back like a dog. And yeah, so that I thought that was quite nice. That was actually the trip up there on that scene. We knew he was going to be there, but actually the way the story was being told, you couldn't actually assume he was there.
Oh no. But
Straight from the
lovely scene of where they're all driving towards things, and Wesley Snipes says the line that I think is ridiculous. We both think is ridiculous. It's funny, but it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's funny. I like how he has completely skipped over at least one production, and I think what he means in his head is filmed version of Blade. But yes, and the only Blade, one and only Blade. There's no winner. And to be fair, at this moment in time, I know everyone's saying that there might be another. He ain't lying. Until they bring that next film, when they bring that film out, and I hope they do, I really want this film. Until they do, the man ain't lying. There was a Blade TV. I'm going to assume he means in film.
No.
And for that alone,
Wesley Snipes with his silly things, he's always happy to play. He said he will always say he'll come back and play Blade.
Well, yes, no, he's always been. I mean, we had this discussion again the other day, as we always do. But yeah, no, he has always said he wants to do Blade again. He's very happy with that character. He loves that character. He did a lot of hard work to get that character out in the first place.
Also, the fact that he kept saying his catchphrases from the films.
Some motherfuckers are still trying to skate uphill. Made me almost piss myself.
I know, he's still saying his silly catchphrases from those films. I love it. He's just like, and then pulls out a rocket launcher and blows open and destroys Ant-Man's hands. Basically, to get open. I do love the bit where they all get out of the car. They've all gotten out of the car. They're all like face off against the bad guys, and then the boot of the car opens.
Yeah, and it's Wolverine. Like I say, pulling himself out. And then leads us to a nice callback, honestly, to what I think we can easily say the worst X-Men film ever. Last Stand, because they brought back the mutant groups from Last Stand to be the bad guys at Cassandra's base, and basically they charge through those motherfuckers the same way they did in X-Men Last Stand, and it is still like, I mean, that was still the best part of Last Stand, but this, they did it right. Wolverine letting loose.
Wolverine letting loose, Deadpool letting loose, and then oh my god, Gambit.
Yeah.
Using the car
right.
to blow people, to just throw loads of cars at loads of people, and then just blowing them all up on command. It's like,
now,
and then you know what you want to talk about. You know what you want
I mean, there's many things I want to talk about, but there was a scene that they nearly did the thing that I have wanted to see in live action for so long, and they have done it once in that Wolverine Origins film, and it was good, but I wanted to see it done Marvel good. When he pulls all the cards out in a row, fully charged. Now, that is the beginning of two pretty good moves. One of them is where he rapidly fires all the cards out in a straight line like a machine gun, and he did a few of those. But the best one is 52 card pickup, where he fires them all out as like a shotgun burst, taking out everything. And I thought we were going to get that, and we didn't, and I just felt bad. But he then uses the nano core stuff instead.
No, he pulled out the staff, and I was like, he's using the staff. He's actually using the staff. It was so good to see him. I was like, we got to see Gambit done right twice this year. He got his time to shine twice this year.
I mean, if you're a Gambit fan, you're so happy right now. Your cup runs full of.
Yeah, I like, as you know, your favourite X-Men is Gambit mainly. My favourite X-Men, as we both know, is Rogue. It always has been.
Yeah.
Because Rogue has always been my favourite, and it's and it's like they are the power couple of the X-Men, other than Jean and Scott.
Yeah.
They're the other two.
I mean,
power couple.
Jean and Scott have got their issues. Let's be honest.
But I like
There's a lot.
They're happily married. I do like that.
Yes, prison fight.
And so yeah, there's this. Like I say, this scene was so good. They all did their parts incredibly well. In the fight.
Blade just cutting people down. Yes.
And it's like I just like the fact that the best part as well, because it is so in character during the fight. He's fighting everyone, but Azazel comes into his peripheral vision, and as soon as he does, he turns. You can see the moment where he just sort of flashes and he goes, "Okay, no, I know how to fight a demon. This is my wheelhouse right now." Using Toad's tongue to strangle him straight out of Deadpool kills. Genius. But yeah, so we get to that. I mean, that fight.
Oh yeah, I'm fine.
You are. And that fight was absolutely awesome, which then leads us, which leads the assault. So, Wolverine. Oh no! I mean, we now get to talk about one of the better things. So they need Juggernaut's helmet. This is what the assault's for. They need to get to Juggernaut's helmet and get it to be able to put it on Cassandra before she can use her abilities on them. And this leads us to possibly the most in-law accurate way of doing this that I hadn't thought of and I haven't seen before, so someone can easily point this out to me at some point if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah.
But in the past, the way to stop the Juggernaut's powers are quite simple. If he is touching the ground, he is immovable. If he is running, he is unstoppable. The great bands of Sitarak give him almost unlimited strength.
You've got to remember one difference between this Juggernaut and the Juggernaut you're talking about. The Juggernaut you're talking about is the one that's in Deadpool's universe. This Juggernaut, as we both know, is a mutant.
Is a mutant. I'm going to assume, in that case, I mean, you're right, but I will add at least then that he's mutant.
Remember, Leech turned his powers off in the film. Because everyone forgets the kid in the film is Leech.
Yes, so I mean, well, in that case, I think. Yeah, so at least in this instance, then we can go along the same lines as the Blob, who was used in the X-Men universe, which is once again, as long as he's on ground or moving, his mutant ability makes him unstoppable or immovable. The way that X-23 removes this part of his ability is by literally cutting his legs off from the ankles.
Dude, seriously?
So he's no longer touching the ground.
Yeah, because
it
just cuts his head off, cuts his ankles off, and then fucking cuts his head off. And
level 1.
you can tell Laura's going. You don't notice Laura's basically going a little bit into a berserker rage.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it was brutal. It was proper bullshit. Like literally, people, especially through the comic books, whinge that she took over the Wolverine mantle. It seems like that from the comic books that we've just seen in the film is why she takes the Wolverine mantle.
Yeah.
Not just because she's Wolverine's clone, because she's actually just as brutal and deserves it.
Oh yeah, so good though. And then as she goes to throw the as she goes to try and deliver the helmet up, she gets basically knocked down and then chucks the helmet up, barely landing behind them. I do love the scene though, and we cut to the fight scene between Cassandra and Logan and Wade, and Cassandra and Logan it's the scene we've seen already in the trailer where she's basically just puppeting Logan.
Not cool, man.
Making him stab himself. Because everyone forgets she is actually a very powerful telepath. She is. That's why.
Not one to judge, but why don't your drapes match?
You've been reading more recently enough. Isn't she an incredibly powerful telekinetic, but has to be in physical contact for telepathy?
Yeah, so physical contact, but telekinetic. She's very powerful. Unlike Charles, who was very powerfully telepathic, but I think he doesn't have very strong telekinesis.
You know, I had a
Yeah.
friend who had 2 holes on it. Called him Dose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so.
Hey, look at that.
It was such a good fight, and then they get the helmet on her, and they try to talk her down.
Really?
And she's like, "You take this helmet off, I'm going to kill you." She just keeps threatening to kill them, and I love it. She's just like, they're trying to convince her. She's just constantly threatening to kill them when they take the helmet.
So yeah, they have to. She ends up getting into. Well, I mean, we cut the bit where she's gotten into Wolverine's head, and we kind of get a bit of we don't actually get told fully what happened to him. We get an outline of his fears and why he's who he is. And when Cassandra finally thinks that she's got him, he realises that something's changed, and yeah, Deadpool's got the helmet on her. They get through the fight. She says, "If you take it off, I will kill you." And this is the next changing point for Wolverine. It's him sort of pointing out, "Look, I know Chuck. If he knew about you, he would have done so much to get you. I don't understand how you can say you're his other, you're his twin, and be like this." And I think just the killing side of it is what's making everything not right. I'm going to give you this opportunity. And it really is the worst idea in the world. But luckily, the person that is betraying her anyway comes in and shoots.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of rounds that off. She gets angry.
And just throws Pyro across the fucking room, which was so awesome.
Yeah, and this is quite interesting because this is one of the very few scenes from later on in the film that you actually get shown. Because everyone was speculating why it looked like they were escaping from Sandra while she was just seen to be standing there doing nothing.
Because she's letting them go.
Well, because she's letting them go, we now know why. They've made a deal, and this deal is being upheld.
And then she realizes.
And then now.
And then after a few seconds, cause she realizes, wait a minute. She just basically realizes that she doesn't want that if she'll make the entire world everything the void, the only thing left will be the void. Basically.
And she also finds out that through the use of Pyro that actually not only what she actually finds out is that Paradox is actually planning on cleaning up the void itself anyway, of everyone in it. It's a betrayal. He's working out on cleaning up a lot of issues that he thinks will get him a promotion, and she is one of them. Yes, Hunter B16 at this point is pretty much in charge, and she's very much not, as if you know from Loki, she's not a big fan of what he would be doing right now. One thing I would say at this juncture in the film is that it's 11 o'clock. We're halfway through the film at 2.5 hours. Oh yes. And we've got so much to follow in the second part. I think this might be one we talk about a bit later when to finish up. Yeah, at this point in time, where we'll leave off at least is, yeah, they've jumped through a portal. So things around the portal, some very interesting things. She pulls out a sling ring and says that she got it from
a magician that passed through here.
She mentions the clothing of the magician.
The cloak.
Now,
yeah, rather nice.
I don't. Now, here's my thing. I don't think the wizard that they got there was a Doctor Strange. How interesting would it have been if we'd actually seen maybe some idea of it being Ned that got killed?
What, a Ned in one universe that became a sorcerer?
Oh, we know Ned can use a sling ring, and are we 100% sure he didn't manage to take one away with him at the end of...
No idea.
I mean, he wouldn't... Can you imagine him just waking up with a sling ring, not really knowing about any of the adventures using one, and accidentally popping into the void? Awesome.
Because I think Ned's
it does mean that
is probably going to reappear in one of the Spider-Man films and may end up becoming this universe's Hobgoblin.
I would love that. You know, we've discussed this. I would love that.
Because it's meant to be the trope. It's my best friend betrayed me. My best friend betrayed me. Peter, I will never betray you. You're gonna betray him,
yeah.
Ned. You're gonna
and now it's what do you mean betray you? I don't even know you.
Yeah, and that'll be the perfect way of doing it. But yeah, we end up with Deadpool. We'll end off here basically at the final act of the film. We'll end up here and we'll discuss the next one in 2 weeks' time when we're back. But they basically go through this portal and jump into Deadpool's world. Essentially, back to Deadpool's world, where they're trying to stop Paradox, who's basically having a go at them, saying it's too late, you can't stop it. To which then Cassandra shows up and yeets them through a building, into a building, and we'll leave it there. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching. Au revoir.